Hello, I am Katerina Veyu, and I am part of the HIGGS team. Welcome to our HIGGS event called TGE Network and Cross-Border Donations in Europe. We are so happy to have you with us. Once again, we are having this event online as the COVID-19 pandemic doesn't allow us to have you in our premises in HIGGS building. Nevertheless, we will try to make this event and this experience as interactive as possible. And of course, we will also try to overcome the geographical distance between us. Before we get started, please follow carefully the instructions that I will give you in order to communicate in the best possible way. Well, first of all, while connecting, you saw that you are muted. Please remain muted throughout the speaker's presentations so that we do not have sound problems. Secondly, the first 1.5 hours will be dedicated to the presentations of our speakers. After that, you will have the time to ask your questions. And finally, as you already know, this event is recorded, and in the near future, we will post it on our YouTube channel. When this happens, of course, we will announce it on our social media, so stay tuned. Well, let's talk now about our current event, an event that takes place for the first time in Greece and aims to inform both the Greek nonprofits and individuals and companies that could be potential donors, to inform them about the European philanthropy, about what happens according to the European laws when someone wants to donate to charitable causes abroad, to inform about the Transnational Giving Europe network and its significant benefits both for donors who wish to donate abroad while securing tax deductibilities, and Greek nonprofits that really need to secure funds from Europe. We have the great pleasure and honor to have with us 7 very special, very experienced speakers from the largest philanthropic organizations and nonprofits in Europe, from 4 European countries who are either members or beneficiaries of the TGE network, and they will all answer our questions today. Ms. Laure Paquot, manager of the Transnational Giving Europe network. Mr. Ludwig Forrest, head of International Philanthropy and the King Baudouin Fondation in Belgium. Ms. Marie Caillat, head of International Development at the Fondation de France, and her colleague Noura Kie. Ms. Aïssata Traoré, project coordinator at the Swiss Philanthropy Foundation. Ms. Aphrodite Stathi, Executive Director at the Greek nonprofit ELIZA, Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children, and Dr. Sotiris Petropoulos, Director at HIGGS in Greece. We also have a surprise for you, a speaker that was not included in the original invitation, Ms. Marina Anselme. She is the General Secretary of the MSC Foundation, an environmental organization in Geneva, that is also a beneficiary of the TGE network. Hello, welcome. We are so excited to have you with us today, even online. Our speakers will talk about the philanthropy in Europe and the obstacles that both donors and nonprofits face due to each country's tax legislation. We'll analyze the advantages of the TGE network, as the TGE network acts as the mediator, the bridge between donors and nonprofits that come from different European countries. They will highlight some success stories, the experience of the nonprofits and the donors that have already benefited from the network. They will share some tips, some tricks for communication strategies that may help you attract more donors abroad. And they will introduce you to our new platform, the online giving platform, which is actually the first online cross-border giving platform in Europe that activates the European philanthropy. So let's start with Ludwig Forrest of the King Baudouin Foundation. Please make sure that you are all muted. Ludwig, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Katerina. Two remarks before starting. One, as you said, Katerina, I would, as you can imagine, being now in this cold and grey Brussels, I would have loved that we could all have convened at Athens. So let's do this as soon as possible when this is over. That's the first remark. The second remark is that, in fact, this is an historical moment because Transnational Giving Europe exists since 20 years, and it is the first time that we can have an event in Greece. So my big thank you goes to HIGGS for having accepted to be the Greek Transnational Giving Europe partner and to be such a motivated and dynamic partner, because we really think that the network will be able to help Greek organizations having donors in the different European countries. But my other co-speakers will talk about that more in detail. What I want to say is quite short. My mission is to give a small introduction into European philanthropy, and even though we could speak hours about what is happening at the level of Europe when it comes to philanthropy, I will try to keep it quite short. Today, we are more speaking about cross-border philanthropy than about philanthropy. Cross-border philanthropy, why is it important? Why is it relevant? Because since years, and this is something that is not new, and we all experience this, since years, it is growing. Cross-border philanthropy is growing. It still is a detail. When you look to the global figures of philanthropy in all of our countries, and then you compare this to cross-border philanthropy, it still is a detail, but it is a growing detail, and that is why it deserves all our attention and all the attention that fundraisers should have for donors not living in their own country, but living in other countries. Why is it growing? Because people were, I cannot say are for the moment, but where and will travel more and more. They are living abroad, traveling abroad, marrying abroad, retiring abroad, divorcing abroad. But anyway, more and there are more people are more mobile in Europe. Also, people that work, they have international careers. Young people are going to study in different universities all over the place. So people have more this international spirit and are not hesitating anymore to dedicate their philanthropic efforts to foreign organizations or what for them is foreign organizations. You have diasporas, of course, and you know that we have the pleasure to welcome a lot of Greek persons in the different cities that we represent: Geneva, Brussels, Paris. So those diasporas are probably willing to give back to organizations in their countries, and so that is also one of the reasons why this cross-border philanthropy is growing. It's no need to say that causes, and especially what we are living today, that causes are also that they don't know borders. So be it migration, you are in the first line of migration, be it COVID, obviously, be it climate, be it poverty, those causes are not national anymore. They do not stop at borders, and that is why there is also a growing interest of philanthropy. There is a growing interest of cross-border philanthropy within the philanthropic population. The other point is that yes, so normally philanthropy should be free in Europe. So normally no one should be hampered by I am a Belgian citizen, I should be able to help an organization in Denmark, in Greece, in Portugal, or in the Netherlands. So that should be already the case. And for that, we have an EU treaty that gives fundamental freedoms to the EU citizens. So in theory, this meeting should not have to take place, because in theory, we are covered by the EU treaty, and normally we should be able to make cross-border donation with all the tax benefits in our own countries. But unfortunately, this is not yet the case. And why? Because member states did not implement these rules as well as they should do. And that is one of the issues that Transnational Giving Europe is trying to solve. Why is it important? In some countries, we have a very strong tradition of approving and being, how do you say, being very happy about the tax benefits that we can get out of a donation. You will hear from France, you will hear from Switzerland, from me later on, that this advantage is quite big. We are talking between 45 and 66% of the donation. So in some countries, it is less the case, but in these countries where it is less the case, they must keep in mind that in other countries, providing tax benefits for donation is very important to be as attractive as other charities that do understand the importance of this. So that is why it is important. So to solve this problem for cross-border donations, to solve this problem of lifetime donations, of cash donations, but also of legacies, cross-border legacies, there are two efforts that are taking place. The first is the advocacy effort. You maybe have heard about the European Foundation Center. You maybe have heard about Daphne, and those umbrella organizations representing foundations, representing the donor associations. They are really trying to foster and to create the best conditions, to create what they call the single market for philanthropy, to allow citizens and companies to make cross-border donations. This is an ongoing effort. We have many contacts, obviously being in Brussels. We have many contacts with the European Parliament, with the European Commission, with national representatives to try to facilitate, to enable this cross-border philanthropy. Foundation statute, the many events that are organized, and we get more and more support, but not yet enough to be ready to say, okay, now it's free and everyone can give from one country to another. There are also court cases that have been triggered at the European Court of Justice in Luxembourg. You have cases for legacies, you have cases for cross-border revenues, you have cases for cross-border donations. For those that are interested, those cases are called Stauffer, Perche, and Missionwerk. And so those cases are all in favor of this cross-border giving movement and this facilitated cross-border giving movement. So we really think it is a question of time. In 10 or maybe 15 years from now, the solutions will be more easy for us all, be it foundations like the one I'm working for, be it organizations like the one you are working for, to collect donations from Europe. But today, it is still a little bit complicated. But as I said, action one, it is advocacy, and we are really continuing to try to get this enabling environment to allow you to receive donations from all over Europe. It is not yet the case, and that is why there is a second initiative. And there it comes to Transnational Giving Europe. So there the efforts, and Laure in a few seconds will present you what is Transnational Giving Europe. But this is, for the moment, this is still the only initiative that exists. And this is a private initiative between foundations that have the mission to promote cross-border philanthropy and that do believe it is important, foundations and organizations. HIGGS, Fondation de France, Swiss Philanthropy Foundation, King Baudouin Foundation, we are all part of this network that is there to try to help you. But maybe I can leave it here and pass on to Laure, and happy to take questions after the presentations of my fellow co-speakers.
Thank you so much, Ludwig. Everything you shared with us regarding the European philanthropy was really interesting. Would any of our speakers like to comment on that, maybe to give his or her point of view? No? Perfect. So, thank you so much. We now move on to the main part of the presentations. We give the floor to Laure Paquot of the Transnational Giving Europe Network. Laure?
Yes. Thank you, Katrina. Thank you, Sotiris, for inviting us, inviting the TGE network to take part in this first event in Greece. And we are very lucky to be joining you from rainy Brussels to hopefully sunny Greece. So if it's all right with you, I'll be sharing my screen in order to have a presentation for you to see as I introduce the network. Yes. Okay, I'm assuming this is working for everyone. All right, so the purpose of my presentation is to introduce you to the Transnational Giving Europe Network. So the Transnational Giving Europe, or TGE, as I will call it to be efficient, TGE is a network of 21 renowned and leading European foundations and charities established in 21 different European countries. All of these actors, and we have with us HIGGS, we have Fondation de France, we have King Baudouin Foundation, Swiss Philanthropy Foundation, but many more. So all of these foundations and charities have partnered together to provide a very practical solution to the question that you have all been asked and tried to address, like how do we provide a solution for tax-efficient cross-border donations? And since 1998, the TGE network offers the possibility for non-profit organizations across Europe to fundraise not only in their home country, but also across the 20 other European states that are part of our network. We offer a possibility for European individual and corporate donors residing in one of these 21 participating countries to make tax efficient, and this is really a key word here, tax efficient cross-border donations in Europe. Today, the TGE network, as I said, covers 21 countries. So, of course, Belgium, France, Switzerland, Greece, but also many more. We're working in Germany, we're working in Italy, in Spain, in the UK, in Croatia, in Bulgaria. So 21 European countries, all working together to facilitate cross-border donations across Europe. To give you an idea, in 2019 alone, the network channeled over 13.8 million euros to almost 500 beneficiaries in these 21 countries. And beneficiaries that we'll see in a few seconds are very diverse. They are working in a lot of different sectors. They are either promoting the culture, protecting the environment, working in the health sector, in poverty relief, in international development. So a large diversity of charities have benefited from cross-border donations through the TGE network.
Just a question, sorry, Anna, but I think we're seeing the slides in the comments. So maybe it's sad because we cannot see all on the bigger screen. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. This came automatically.
Actually, we see the presentation mode, and you should switch to.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, perfect, thanks. Sorry.
Technology, once again. All right, yeah. So as I said, I wanted to show you examples of beneficiaries we are working with, just to illustrate how diverse they are. So really the network is covering a whole spectrum of charitable entities across Europe. We are working with renowned museums and universities who have global alumni and donors communities like the University of Oxford, like the Louvre, but we are also engaged with middle-sized nonprofits who often organize promotional events in different European countries, and we help them deal with cross-border donations. Like Awesome Cleanup in the Netherlands, Children's Tumor Foundation in Belgium. And finally, we work with smaller sized charities who are fairly local, deeply in touch in their local community, and who have retained links with their diaspora abroad, but do not know how to deal with this issue of tax situation and the different tax situation across the European countries. And this is really where the TGE network comes in and help you deal with that, but I'll explain further in a minute. I wanted to also introduce you to the two Greek charities that the TGE network is currently working with. So we have partnered with ELIZA, and lovely Aphrodite is here with us today. She will be speaking in a minute after myself. And we are also working with Lesbos Solidarity, which is a Greek charity involved in providing relief to refugees in Greece. And both of these organizations have been using the network for almost a year now, a bit more than that, to gain charitable donations from across Europe, and by now have managed to collect several thousand euros from French donors, from Swiss donors. So this is an example of Greek charities we have been working with by now, and we have so successfully managed to use the network to raise funds across Europe. So why is such a solution as Transnational Giving Europe network important? Well, Ludwig has already touched on this, so I'll be very quick there, but basically our experience has shown that there is a rising demand from all European countries for the ability for donors to make cross-border gifts and donations to the charities and to the causes of their choice. Because right now they want to support organizations that provide poverty relief. They want to support organizations that fight against global warming. And these issues, obviously, they do not have borders. Like, they do not stop at the borders between France and Belgium or Switzerland and Italy. So this is something that needs to be addressed. And then we have individual donors whose families, investments, professional opportunities, interests, they're also spread across the world. I mean, we have expatriates and second-generation children who want to continue to support causes and organizations in their country of origin. We have university students who want to give back to their alma mater. And then we have multicultural or multinational corporations who have entities who have field offices in a lot of European countries. And we often work with such corporations, and they come to us and they say, look, we have entities in Switzerland, we have entities in Spain, in Italy, in the UK, in Germany. How can we harness the generosity power of our employees in these different countries to support causes and organizations across Europe? So these donors, individual corporate donors, they do not care about borders. They want to support the beneficiary and the cause of their choice. But at the same time, they are also very aware of the kind and the type of tax incentives that are available to them in their home country, in their country of tax residence. So it is something that you, as nonprofit organization working in Greece, when trying to approach European donors, need to keep in mind as well, that these donors know what they can get in terms of tax advantages for charitable purposes in their home country. And the question you might have is, okay, is how do we deal with this? How can we facilitate cross-border donations in a tax-effective manner? And that is where the Transnational Giving Europe network comes in and provide an easy and accessible solution as an intermediary between you, Greek nonprofits, and your foreign donor, French, German, Italian, British, and so on. So here I'm taking a very concrete Example, let's say we have Laure, a lovely Swiss, a lovely lady based in Switzerland, but who happens to be born in Greece and moved to Geneva for work purposes. Laura is part of several Greek networks in Geneva, and during one of those events organized, she got to meet several nonprofit organizations from Greece and was particularly taken in by the activity of one such organization who's fighting for the protection of environment in Greece. And Laura was really keen in supporting this organization in her home country in Greece. But at the same time, she knows that as a Swiss taxpayer, she can get tax deductions if she makes a gift to a Swiss charity. So how can she do both? How can she support this Greek charity that she's really keen on, and at the same time receive the fiscal advantages that are available for her donations in Switzerland? Well, it's very simple through the TGE network. Laura only needs to get in touch with her national TGE partner, Swiss Philanthropy Foundation, to register her interests and tell them, hey, I'm interested in this Greek charity. Can I make a donation? And Swiss Philanthropy Foundation will say, of course, we'll get in touch with our Greek partner and we'll conduct due diligence on this charity. And then Laura will be able to make her donation to Swiss Philanthropy Foundation, who will then provide her with her Swiss tax receipt and transfer the donation to the final beneficiary in Greece. So there are three advantages for you in this process. First of all, through the TGE network, Laura gets the exact same tax benefits supporting a foreign NGO, so supporting a green beneficiary, as she would get supporting a Swiss nonprofit organization. At the end of the day, for her, it doesn't matter. Second, there is only one point of contact for everyone. So Laura only needs to get in touch with her Swiss TGE representative, Swiss Philanthropy Foundation, and she can ask all her questions, get all the detail, all the information from our Swiss partner. At the same time, the Greek charity only needs to get in touch with HIGGS, our national Greek partner, to ask all their questions and get all the information about TGE network and the processing of this donation. And thirdly, and that is the most important point, it is the TGE network, the TGE partners, who carry out all the administrative formalities related to the tax deductibility of gifts here. So if I take my example again, it means that it is Swiss Philanthropy Foundation that will clearly explain to Laura the kind of fiscal incentives she can get for charitable giving in Switzerland. So you don't need to know or care about that. It is Swiss Philanthropy Foundation who prepare and send out the tax receipt to Laura. And it is Swiss Philanthropy Foundation who will get in touch with the Swiss tax administration with all the necessary information to process the gifts. So as a charity, the TGE network basically enables you to do what you do best, and that is to work to be involved on the field, be involved in your missions and your actions on the ground, and be on the front line in seeking out new donors in your home country, but also across Europe, knowing that at the end of the day, the TGE partners and the TGE network will take care of all the fiscal and administrative processes behind these cross-border donations. Now, as I said, the whole objective of the network and TGE partners is to make tax-efficient cross-border philanthropy in Europe as easy as possible. And we have taken this one step further since a few months now, because the TGE network, in collaboration with all its partners, have developed and implemented the first transnational online giving platform, which enables Greek, but also beneficiaries from across Europe to collect tax-efficient online donations from Italy, from Germany, from France, from Switzerland, etc. So this is a brand new tool that we are introducing to you today. And so I'll propose to show you a live version of the tool, which will be much more interesting than a point-to-point version. Yes. All right. So this is the Transnational Giving Europe platform. And here I am taking the example of a new beneficiary we have introduced in the platform. Their name is Children's Tumor Foundation. It's a Greek middle-sized charity who is working, who is involved in the fight against children cancer and children's diseases. And this organization came to us because they had a story. They wanted to organize promotional events across Europe, so online promotional events during those times across Europe. And at the same time, they wanted to have an easy tool to collect donations. So we created an online donation page for them. This is their page. As you can see, it's quite customized. So we have the logo of the charity. We give explanation as to what their mission is. But more importantly, we have entirely designed the platform to account for the different tax regulations across Europe. So on this page, we invite European donors to select their country of tax residence. And the page is available in at least 10 or if not more languages. So we invite them to select their country of tax residence because this has an important impact in the follow-up steps. So let's imagine I am a Swiss donor who wants to support this Belgian beneficiary. I select Switzerland, and then I'm taken to this online donation page. So we have all the standard information requested, like the donation amount, the personal information, the payment details. But beyond that, we also explain very clearly, what kind of fiscal advantages are available for Swiss donors. We explain the type of reduction or deduction they might be able to get, how these are processed, where they can get further information, and so on. We provide information as to how they can contact us as TGE or you as beneficiary if they have questions. We provide information on the protection of their personal data, of course, and basically how the whole donation process works with the Transnational Giving Europe network. Once they do their donation, each donor receives a thank you email where we, of course, summarize the main information about their donation, but where most importantly, we also provide information as to how and when they will get their fiscal, their tax receipts. So how is it going to get to them? By post, by email? The frequency, is it going to be like a one-time fiscal receipt? Will they receive one for each donation made, etc.? So again, the TGE partners and the TGE network is responsible for explaining as clearly as possible and as many details to the donors what the situation is in their country and how they can get all the information and documents they might need to benefit from the fiscal advantages available to them. And that, on the other side, enable beneficiaries like Children's Tumor Foundation, like you, like German charities and so on, to use this new tool, online giving platform, to increase funds you're able to collect from across Europe, because the whole purpose is to break down borders and use the TGE network and use these kind of tools to support your organization and support the work you're doing in your home country. So yeah, I hope this presentation was helpful, that it provided information, but of course I'll be happy to answer questions at the end of the presentation after all my lovely co-speakers have been able to speak. Thank you.
For your presentation on the TGE network and the online giving platform. I loved your example with Laure. Next in line to present is Miss Aphrodite Stathi from the Greek nonprofit ELIZA. ELIZA, apart from joining the TGE network as a beneficiary organization, has extensive experience in securing donations from abroad, and in particular for the United States. So Aphrodite, we look forward to hearing from you and learning from your experience.
Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to share our own experience. I think that it's very important to make sure that all Greek organizations have the same opportunity to grow, to offer the best that they can to people in need. I thought that it would be best if I could share our story, not to advertise what we do, but just to understand or communicate to my fellow colleagues from other organizations that we are a small organization, nothing, huge, not that many years, but still we had a dream, we have a vision. So please allow me to share our short presentation, just to understand how you have managed to start helping us in what we do. ELIZA in Greece is a small yet highly specialized organization working for the protection of abused and neglected children. So what we do is very, very specific. Our objectives have to do with prevention, detection, and rehabilitation of children suffering from abuse and neglect. Our credentials are very greatly respected because what we do has to do with collaborations from both in Greece and abroad, and we are all only 12 years old. The drawback of what we do is that we work for the protection of children in general, but we don't have a house where you can find, X number of children that we care for. We are targeting children that are missed in terms of the opportunity to help them. And I'm mentioning this because communication-wise, it's not easy to approach people and ask them for donations, because usually what happens is that it's much easier to request money and support when you have photos of children that you can relate to. Our mission is more generic and of course more difficult. And because we are a small, medium-sized organization, and it's a strategic decision from our members of the board to receive no state funding until today, so we depend solely on public support. So what we do is on a national level, so we have the numbers, we have our data to showcase that what we do is on a national level. And what happened is that when we started thinking of what we can do about increasing our opportunity to raise money, we had a few things on our mind, but we also had something that became part of everyone's life during the past year, which is the coronavirus crisis. And here, during the lockdown, my fellow colleagues and myself, we saw a huge challenge in front of us having to do with our role, because we were asked to redefine ourselves. We had to redefine the way that we work, and of course the way that we engage with our key target audiences, because most of us, all of us, were locked in our houses, and suddenly we didn't have a way of approaching people that could be of most help to us. However, at the same time, we had a very good experience. We have managed to have a great collaboration for the 5th consecutive year by cooperating with King Baudouin Foundation in the US. King Baudouin Foundation in the US does exactly the same with TGE, with the TGE network for the US. So our donors in the US have the opportunity to contribute to us financially, through the foundation, because there is an account that was created for ELIZA. And in this way, there are tax-deductible receipts that are issued to our donors. So in this way, we managed to target Greek Americans that are aware of our cause, and also Americans that know what we do and they are eager to support us. Please don't imagine that we're talking about huge amounts of money, but a significant amount of money on a yearly basis that we can count on. And it all happens in a very transparent way. So when we initially got the announcement through HIGGS about TGE, we were extremely happy, because at the end of the day, it all comes down to money. If we don't have the money, we cannot continue, our dream and our mission. And here we knew, as soon as we saw the announcement, that it's going to solve a huge problem for us that has to do with missed opportunities of people that are of interest to us. So what happened is that we got in touch with HIGGS and asking of how can this be done. And actually the whole process was very easy. Of course, you need the initial bureaucratic filter stage. So we had to send our initial documents presenting our organization. Not something very difficult. Of course, they needed the annual report, they needed the legal documents, the board members, financial data. And what we did is that we then moved on to the next step that had to do with a kind of test. So we found a donor from, I think, France. And what happened is that we connected the two parts. So we forwarded the donor's name, email and phone to HIGGS. And then HIGGS, who is the facilitator, the mediator, informed the partner in France. And then the partner communicated with the donor in order to make the donation. A very simple way of everything. And it was funny because when we finished up the first donation, we had the list of the 21 countries and we said, so what's next? And I'm mentioning this because the moment you have the first donation coming in, you start imagining the potential that you have. So just to share our own experience, I think that in general, what TGE network has to offer is a great opportunity especially for the small, medium-sized organizations, but it's also demanding because you have to redefine the way that you perceive your target audience. I love the name that was mentioned before, the diaspora, which is a Greek word. So just imagine all these people that are out there. They are a great target audience, which is digitally based. So there is no physical way of getting in touch with them. You won't ever be able to meet them maybe, but they are there. And it's great because there is a common interest. NGOs, I think that people are very literate in terms of understanding global causes. And if you imagine that these people are out there, it could be Greeks living abroad, it could be people that have a similar interest to the organization's mission. So there is definitely an opportunity to target people from other countries. To me, it's very important, the transparency aspect, because everything is legal. You have well-respected foundations that are supporting the cause. We heard that they have been there doing this for so many years. And I think that in general, this is a very good example also for Greece as a country, because I don't know people from other countries if you have this problem, but in Greece, there was negative publicity coming for some NGOs in terms of how they are, in a way, excuse me for saying this, laundering money. And this is a very clear, a very transparent way of having money being brought to Greece for a clear cause and in a tax-deductible way. So I think that this is in general a win-win situation for everyone. And I love the application that was just shown to us. It is very user-friendly. And if you can imagine that through a maximum of 3 clicks, somebody can do something for Greece, for NGOs in our country, I think that this is a great story to share. So that's it from my end. I don't know if you have anything to ask. I'm here to answer any questions. And very happy to meet everyone, because I see that we have so many people that have signed in from many different areas of Greece, and this is a great message. Thank you, Katerina.
Thank you so much, Aphrodite, for your detailed presentation. Sotiris, would you like to comment on what we have heard until now?
Yes, thank you very much, Katerina, and thanks also for Aphrodite, Laure, and Ludwig. I was just getting some notes on what has been discussed so far. So first of all, I take note on the cross-border philanthropy that does exist. We are seeing a lot of peaks when we have different instances, such as, for example, the refugee crisis, multiple wildfires, again, a bit coming back due to the refugee crisis case. But again, in general, we also see a gradual increase of funding coming across Europe to different nonprofits across Europe. The second thing is, and I think that also Aphrodite stressed it quite a lot, is about the issue of size. It doesn't really matter what the size of the organization is. Small, medium organizations can actually benefit, and potentially they have these quick reflexes and reshape a bit of how they understand potential donors outside Greece. I think that they can do miracles, especially in this more online environment in which we have entered due to the pandemic crisis. Now, as a final thing, I want to stress the expats that they are now. Usually when we talk about Greek diaspora, we think of all these Greeks that have left in the 50s, 70s, or the 60s, and they are in Europe, for example, in UK, in France, or whatever. But please do know that we have a lot of people, due to the brain drain of the second decade of the 2000s, of the new century, that we have a lot of people that are being placed across Europe. And usually these people, they do work, they do want to support back Greece. So we have a lot of people that they are willing, and they are doing it. Anyway, they're providing some funding to Greek nonprofits. And while it is outside of our culture to understand how tax incentives can actually incentivize people either to give or to give more, it's something that it is more than apparent in the European context. And I think that the presentations that will follow will give us an indication of how strong such an incentive might be. Back to you, Katerina. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sotiris. Now we move to our next speaker for today, Aïssata Traoré from the Swiss Philanthropy Foundation. Aïssata, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Katarina, and thank you for inviting us, the Swiss Philanthropic Foundation. We are really happy to be here to present our foundation and our part into the TGE network. So I'm going to show you also the slides, hoping that it will all work. Okay. Do you see the notes version also? Okay, just a few seconds now. I'm gonna try another thing. Let's try it this way.
me to help you, Aïssata? Ah, perfect.
Okay. So now you see my screen. Oh, this time it's also the note side. Yes, no? It's all good? This is a slide entirely.
It's white, actually.
Wait, yes, it's blank. We can't see.
I'm so sorry for that.
Would you like me to share your PowerPoint slide? And
Yeah, maybe it can be easier because I have two screens, and it's maybe why it doesn't want to show either
just
one.
give me 1 minute to open it. Okay, I will start sharing my screen now. Okay, Aïssata?
Yes, thank you, Katarina, for saving me. So for the TGE network, so we are the Swiss Philanthropic Foundation. We are the representative for the TGE network. Here we are based in Geneva. So it's a quite international city with a lot of different organizations. And as you maybe know, we all have all different languages, but we always manage to contact our donors and having some exchange of information. So the Swiss Philanthropy Foundation is providing, I'm going to talk to you about how we work here in the TGE network, how we can help the donors, and what are the important information for all non-profit organizations to know about the Swiss Philanthropy Foundation and the TGE network. So on the next slide, you can see that we are here from 2006. And our mission is to encourage philanthropy through the creation of funds and to encourage philanthropy to the administration, helping them how to ensure the funds and how to ease them with the administrative that can be quite long. So in our three missions, we have one, is it the TGE network. So we support donors based in Switzerland, who donate in Europe. And as you understand also, we also support Swiss-based non-profit organizations that wish to have a membership to the TGE network. So we act as a contact point for the Swiss-based non-profit beneficiary, but we also help for the donor. So as Laure has shown you with the example of Laure living in Switzerland, we are the person that's helping with the contacts and helping them to understand a little bit better about this, about the TGE network. So on the next slide, you can see the latest figures. So we have the TGE network is now going stronger and bigger, and every donation counts, and every year it's a different numbers and different figures. So in Switzerland, just to have some idea, we have about 101 Swiss donors that gave in 2019, that gave 1.75 million to 70 European beneficiaries. So basically, it's all the donors in Switzerland that gave to all European beneficiaries. It's showing you that the network is really important, and Swiss people are very inclined to give to other organizations that are not Swiss-based, but that are European. So the philanthropy doesn't stop to borders. We have also 38 beneficiaries in Switzerland. So it is all our friend, our TGE partner and donors in European countries that gave two Swiss-based organizations. And at the end, they received also 1.28 million of euros. So you can see it's quite some equilibrium between what is going out of Switzerland and what is going in. So as much people that gave to European beneficiary, but also to Swiss organizations. So basically, you can see on next slide how it's working a little bit in depth. How you're gonna act if you have a Swiss donor. So first, it's really important to understand that the donor needs to contact the Swiss Philanthropy Foundation, but that will be also the case for other TGE partners, because we can make a first contact, explain also to them what a secure framework it is, the TGE network. That is also a guarantee for you to go to TGE network, because we have some security and showing how a donation can be made. So it's very important for us to understand what is the name of the organization and that the person wants to support. Maybe you have a special project that we want some finance, and we have also different currencies. So it's not also an issue if you have a euro account. We have here in Switzerland Swiss francs, but due to the different conversions, we have 4 different bank accounts. So the currency is not a problem also if someone is asking you about it. And we also need the personal details. Of course, not too much details, but at least the name of the person and their address. It is important because, as I'm gonna say to you also, they receive a statement for their donation, and we need their address because we're working still with a paper version. There is also a small differences, a small particularity in Switzerland. It is that the minimum accepted for donation is 500. We have this because we have administrative weights. I'm 1 person for the TGE network, we are 6 persons in the Swiss Philanthropy Foundation. So you can see we are not that big, but we want to help as much as we can. And as Laure said, we have now the online giving platform that also helped us to get some information and easier the process. So the minimum will be for online giving will be 100. So this is a minimum that might look very high for you. But for example, in Switzerland, the tax advantages can start at 100 or 300 francs. So people cannot have tax advantages lower than 100 Swiss francs. So it might seem very high, but don't worry, we have a lot of donation that started even at 500, but with the online giving, you can also have at 100. So it's not a barrier, it's not a stop for you, because something that can be done really easily in Switzerland. So also for your information, we transfer the donation on quarterly basis. It means that every at the end of March, June, September, and December, we send all the donation that we received from Swiss donors to the European organization. So you won't receive quite fast, as some want, maybe some organization want to receive in 1 month the donation, but just for you to know, in Switzerland we need sometimes in between, but it gives you also times to adjust all your documents that you need to send to us before we accept a donation. And last information for your donors, they receive a statement once a year, so they can give a couple of times during the year, but they receive 1 document at the end of the year stating that they gave 500 francs to us, and this is the tax document they need for the tax administrative. So they receive a statement, it is secure for them, so it's also a security for them to know that they're gonna have some statement that is valid in their country, so in this case, Switzerland. And so last piece of information, but of course don't hesitate if you have a question. In the last slide, I'm also showing the different parts of Switzerland. So maybe you know, or you might not know, Switzerland is composed in a very different, we call it canton. And each canton has his own legal entities, and they have their own legislations. So as a general rules, you can say that it's 20% of the net tax incomes, and for legal entities, it is for the taxable profits. But it's really important to realize that for each person, it might be different, so it depends on the tax situation of the donor. So we always recommend to contact an authority or tax layer to find out the final treatment. And if maybe the donor has a question, he can always come to us, and we can help him in this matter to guide him to find information. As I also put on the slide, there is websites that exist in Switzerland, and it's why we are here. It's why we are helping maybe your organization in Greece that don't know about the tax effects in Switzerland. They don't know how it is. You can ask us, and even if we don't have the final decision, because it's better to ask for a specialist in Switzerland, but at least we can redirect the donor and explain to him how it's working. So if you might go to the next slide, Katarina, it is just a few recommendations. As you already understood, it is important to inform your donor about the existence of TGE, and that they can contact us to require some information. So we recommend, for example, some embassies or association that will more particularly mean expatriates, as you already heard, but also alumni. Alumni, why? It's because it's people that study in Greece, that have made the university and they left to Switzerland, for example, and now they want to support their own schools, and that is often one case. It's one major sector of the nation. It is education, besides health and culture. And we also recommended to contact the Swiss Philanthropy Foundation to find out if you're eligible for a TGE membership, and we're gonna help you also to prepare your application. So it's a big help for you also. If you're a small organization, we have the information maybe that you're searching for. We can guide you through this process. So you're not alone, and we are here to tell you if we can help you as much as we can. And last thing, it's important to anticipate your needs. Where you're going to search for the donors. You can always also redirect your own website and indicate that you're a TGE member, that it's a secure way to transfer your donation, because I think security is also a big issue now with internet and all the different things. It can be quite good also to have this security and knowing to make note to the donors that you're supported by the TGE network. And there is also organization as KBF, Swiss Philanthropy Foundation, that is our that also support your organization, if you're already in the TGE network, of course. So don't hesitate also to ask information to us and put as much information on your website. Try also calls, video calls, as we do now. COVID-19 has this plus, it is that now we are doing a lot of online conferences. So it makes the distance a little bit shorter. So don't hesitate. Thank you. If you have any question, please don't hesitate. I don't know if Katarina, you want to open some question now, or maybe later I will still be available.
I think later would be better. Thank you so much, Aïssata. Now it's the turn of Marie Caillat from the Fondation de France. Marie. Marie, are you here?
Yes, yeah, sorry, I'm here. Just trying to share my screen. How can I? Oh, yes, here.
It's the button in the middle, the green button. Perfect.
Okay. Does it work? Yes. Okay, great. I am really happy to be here with you, virtually with you, and I am also a bit frustrated that I'm not physically in Greece with all my colleagues from the TGE network and all the Greek non-profit that are here with us today. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk a little bit about cross-border donation and from the Fondation de France. Maybe just 2 comments before I start my very short, I promise, presentation. I just want to reflect on 2 things that were said before. First, Ludwig talked about how every structure, all structure, even the smallest one, is now international. Of course, we are not traveling right now, but I strongly believe that we are all global citizens. And this is sometimes the first step to realize that you can engage with a larger audience, to realize like you're part of a global, of course, our issues are global now, but as a citizen, I really believe that we are global citizens. And also, I would like to comment on what Aphrodite said about what transnational giving provide to the donors. And I think the secured framework is something very important. The TGE is also very reassuring for a donor because we conduct the due diligence and we make the donor comfortable with giving money abroad. Of course, fiscal benefit is important, and I will talk a little bit about the fiscal benefit in France, but I think the secured framework is also very important for the donor. Okay, so now the French incentive for individual giving is quite generous, as you can see. My belief is that it's never the primary reason for giving, never. But it can be, it's a very important incentive, of course, and I think it can convince donors to give more or more regularly. So this is very important. So in France, you can enjoy a tax benefit up to 66% of the amount you donate, up to a maximum of 20% of your taxable income. And if you're in company, it's 60% of your donation, up to a maximum of 0.5% of your annual turnover. So you can find this information everywhere. So I don't want to get into much details, but yes, the French states confirmed the importance of the non-profit sector with this very generous financial incentive for donors. So some key figures in 2019. So France gave a bit more than 1.5 million euros, and we had 116 French donors. I think we are the fourth country within the TGE network in terms of generosity, and we received 3.4 million euros from about the same amount of European donors. And 111 French nonprofits are members of the TGE. So it's a very large number of nonprofits, and I think it reflects the dynamic of the French sector of nonprofits, or it is also because Fondation de France is one of the founding members of TGE. So we have this historical link with when it comes to cross-border giving. And also my colleague Laure, who is not here with us today, is also dedicated to the TGE, and she has been working at Fondation de France for over 10 years. So I think also her insight and the way she works with nonprofits is the reason why we have so many nonprofits registered at the TGE. So what did French donors supported in 2019? So medical research. Of course, it's a global fight that knows no borders, and I believe, well, this global pandemic confirmed that spirit. Some example of institution supported include the Belgian Foundation Research Foundation in Physiology, and it is also for the pleasure of showing you my friend the naked mole rat, very interesting animal that is studied there. It also includes the Black Swan Foundation in Switzerland. So for instance, in Switzerland, we had 111 donors giving almost 20,000 euros. It's just to give you an example of the kind of flow, the philanthropic flow that goes out from France. Then second sector supported was education. Education includes both support to higher education, such as Imperial College or Delft University in Netherlands. So, for instance, in the UK, the total gift to the Imperial College was a little bit less than 5,000 from a bit more than 50 alumni. So it's an interesting figures as well. And you also see this this school, because it's also from so it's a school in Romania, and with only 6 donors, it attracted a bit more than 65,000 euros. So I think it's an interesting information to compare those cases. Then, as per sectors, you have international development, with NGOs such as Fight Against Malaria Foundation, or acting in Africa, and Viva, sorry, which act in Brazil. So it's just to give you examples of the type of nonprofits supported by French donors in 2019. So in France, the top sectors funded, so no surprise, we find education and medical research as top sectors supported, but we also find environment as the new emerging causes from benefiting from international giving, and also culture and heritage. So I'm really sorry that my colleague Noha is not here with us today, because she really has more background information about the French beneficiaries. But we took two examples, so it's two cultural organization. What it's called Les Amis du Centre Pompidou, so it's the French museum in Paris, and the other one is a festival in Aix-en-Provence of lyric arts. So they both raise between 20 and 50,000 each year. They have very few individual donors in each country, but they have also a steady growth of donors country. They started with one country, and then they had two partner countries, and etc. And they grew like this. And part of this strategy included events and dedicated communication with their local donors, as well as the transparency over the allocation and use of the grants. So that's just to give you a few examples, and I'm so sorry I can't detail that too much. I can maybe answer question about how you can implement a general strategy of international giving, but for those two examples, Noha is more equipped than me for this. And that will be it. So I hope it was helpful, and I'm happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marie. Sotiris, would you like to comment?
Yes, I'm very tempted in how I could not comment on the 66% of France of the deductible income, and many thanks, Marie, for this information, as well as from Aïssata on what is going on Swiss philanthropy. I want to stress for our Greek nonprofits that we have an increased trend of Greeks staying in France. We have a lot of French that they come to all Greek islands, and I think that they are connected with some environmental nonprofits, especially those that they clean beaches. So this is also a category where you can really connect with some people from France. And I know that a lot of Greek companies have moved part of their operations also in Switzerland. We have Greek owned foundations based in Switzerland. So I think that there is also there a community that somebody can approach. And keeping in mind that everything is becoming online, a lot of that, the general trend on fundraising, especially when it is focused on individuals, is about creating online events where you can actually invite people and motivate them to support them. And to that, I think France and Switzerland are two very excellent cases, as well as Brussels, of course, and Belgium, while the online tool of TGE can also support that.
Thank you, Sotiris. Now we are moving on to our next speaker, Ludwig, Ludwig Forrest. Would you like to give us your second presentation for today?
I will be very short because I think it's important to allow question time. You heard already a lot, and both Marie and Aïssata explained you exactly what I would have to explain you, how you work with the King Baudouin Foundation. It is no surprise that we are working exactly in the same way as all our other TGE partners. So that's the reason why I won't be long on the specificities of Belgium, because I think it's more important that you are able to ask the questions. One or two things I would like to comment on is that we have noticed that many organizations do have donors in other countries. So don't hesitate. That's really the message. That's really the message we have to pass today. It is don't hesitate. If you have 10 donors in Belgium, don't hesitate to go to HIGGS and to say we have 10 donors in Belgium. HIGGS will ask to King Baudouin Foundation, can you accept this Greek organization? We will say yes. And these 10 donors will be able to support you in the best conditions in Belgium. Because maybe today it's only 10 donors, but maybe in 1 year from now, it will be 20 and 30 and 40. So don't be too shy, don't be annoyed. Use Transnational Giving Europe where you can use us. The other thing is, as all speakers have said, work with ambassadors in these countries. If you have one good contact in Switzerland, go and visit this contact. Tell to this contact that you have a very efficient solution, a secure solution, thanks to the Swiss Philanthropy Foundation, and ask to this person, can you become our ambassador? You have friends, local friends. And so could you represent us and organize events and ask for support? Because, and then you have to use your regular motivation speech for donors. Because this is something that we saw that is of big interest. And obviously with the online giving platform, there are no borders anymore, because you can perfectly send an email to your 10 or 20 or 30 donors in one country saying, look, from now on you can use us, you can support us through this link. This is how it will happen, and please make a donation. And yes, you saw Switzerland, you saw France, in Belgium, thanks to the intervention of some of the organization, and because of COVID, the fiscal advantage has also raised to 60%. So if I give without TGE, if I make a donation to your organization, I give 100 euro, and I have given 100 euro. If I do it through the King Baudouin Foundation, through Transnational Giving Europe, I still give you 100 euro, but I will have a tax reduction of 60 euro. So at the end, my donation will cost me only 40 euro. You receive 100 euro minus 5%. Those are the fees. That will be probably one of the questions. But so you receive 95, but you know that for the donor, it only will cost me 40 instead of 100. This is the enormous advantage that in some countries is present. So use us where you need us, and don't hesitate. If you have any specific question on Belgium, I will be very happy to reply to it. But I imagine you have some questions, some general questions.
Thank you so much, Ludwig. A huge thank you to all of our speakers, and of course our commentators, Sotiris, Petropoulos. Now I will upload the presentations of our speakers in the chat. They will remain there until the end of the event, so that you can download them. So in 2 minutes, please check the chat room. Unfortunately, the surprise we promised you at the beginning of the event, Miss Marina Anselme from the MSc Foundation from Switzerland, was not able to join us due to some technical issues. So we are moving on to the next part, the Q&A session. And of course, if she manages to connect later, we will give her some time to present her point of view. So the Q&A is the Q&A session. Whoever wants to ask something, please unmute and speak. Do not forget to mention at the beginning your name and the name of your organization or company, unless you are here as an individual. And of course, the speaker you are addressing to. The rest of you, please stay muted. If someone prefers to send a question in the chat room, feel free, you can do that. Just don't forget to mention everything I said before. Your name, the name of organization or company you represent, and the name of the speaker to whom you address the question. So, who would like to start? Don't be shy. No one?
If there are no questions, can I add something? I think maybe it's going to be easier for everyone.
This will inspire them.
Yes, it's an idea that came to my mind while I was listening to my fellow attendees that, speakers, sorry. I think that the communication aspect of the reason you will be raising money as an NGO in Greece will play a role. And in this effort that is going to be placed by all NGOs, I think that advertising companies could help. The idea that I would like to share is that if you have friends that work in advertising agencies and they could offer on a pro bono basis their services, they could help you in terms of communicating in a nicer way, let's say, your cause. Because especially if you want to target people through the internet, through the digital world, and try to connect with them and engage them for a good cause in Greece. And this idea came to me, for example, for foreign people that visit Greece. For example, it could be a cause related to the beach. The way that you communicate it might play a role. So please have it in mind, because you have the amazing application that you showed us today, but also I think it's a matter of how you raise your voice in terms of what we're asking money for. That's it from my end.
So we have a question here in the chat room. Olympia from Create for Life to TGE. I'm assuming TGE manager and Laure. Do we apply only to TGE or to the individual partners?
Okay, so the answer is very simple. You only need to get in touch with your national TGE partner. So I am assuming you're a Greek-based organization, your national TGE partner is HIGGS. This is the only TGE partner you need to directly get involved with. So you get in touch with HIGGS, with Katerina, with Sotiris, and you say, hi, I'm interested in joining the TGE network. Katerina and Sotiris will of course say, wow, wonderful. So the next steps is basically you'll be invited to fill in an online application where we ask for standard information about your organization, your name, your missions, the cause you're involved in, etc. We also ask that you provide a set number of documents like your annual report, your financial report, your status, etc. Once you provide this information, then HIGGS will take a look at your application and say, yes, we recognize this charity. It is indeed of general public interest in Greece, and we can further recommend this charity to our other TGE partners. And then the TGE partners, the other countries you selected in your application, when you said, well, I believe that I will have donors in France, in Switzerland, and in Belgium, then these 3 TGE partners will receive a notification from HIGGS asking them to review your application. And once they give their go, then you can start collecting donations in these countries. But for you, the only point of contact is HIGGS. And after that, we are taking care of the rest.
Thank you, Laure.
Can I also ask a question?
Of course. I'm afraid.
Hi, I'm Despina. I'm from the Hellenic Federation of Persons with MS in Greece with multiple sclerosis. In case we would like to submit an application, do the documents have to be translated in English, or can we submit them in Greek, in HIGGS, for example, and then they will advise the other TGE members? In other words, do the supporting documents have to be translated? I have a very bad connection. I know about it. I'm sorry.
I think we got the point. I don't know about our speakers. Who would like to answer this question?
I think I'll take this one for the team as well. So there are certain documents that we ask to be translated in English, or that we ask you to provide in a format that can be easily copied into Google Translate for us to do the translation work afterwards. Annual report, for instance, of course, we don't expect you to have reports in both Greek and English, and this is the case with other countries like in Poland and Germany, obviously. But certain documents like your status, which detail how your organization is set up, your mission, how, like with all these important articles, we do need to have them in English in order to process your application. So either you have those documents in English, that's the ideal situation. But if you also provide them in a format that is can be copied, paste, and translated in Google Translate, then it's fine as well.
All right. Another question, how could we advertise if we are part of the TGE, for example?
I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
I think I heard the question, but she's asking how she can advertise that she is member of the TGE.
Correct.
What could be the tools? Okay.
Okay, is anyone else, does any one of my co-speakers want to answer that? No? All right.
Laure,
yes.
I can take that if you like.
Okay, please go ahead. Sotiris.
Okay, and I think this is also part of what HIGGS is generally doing to support the Greek NGO ecosystem. So definitely when you are when you're registered in the TGE platform, you can utilize that for your advantage. We can support you into tailoring some messages that can be directed to people that are found in different countries that you have some contacts. And this is something that in general, I think that as the cross-border philanthropy is growing, I think that this is something that we need as Greek nonprofits be able to really understand and internalize as a process. So in general, there are some key documents and some key wordings that you can use in order to make it more visible that you're part of the TGE network, so that you're registered in the TGE network. So you can actually now offer your foreign donors specific tax incentives based on the country they are residing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sotiris. We have another question in the chat room. Despina Dandy from the Greek nonprofit IKAMEA asks, can a fresh start nonprofit apply to TGE network? I think, Laure, it's your turn again.
Yes. Okay, so this is a bit more complicated situation because the situation doesn't happen very often, but I'd say in general, yes, they can, but we'll be working with them on an individual basis then, because we'll take a look at the countries they are requesting, the kind of information they already have on their organization, it's more of an individual situation in this case, but I wouldn't say it's not possible. It is possible, we just need to have more of a detailed contact with you. I don't know if any one of my colleagues want to add something here. Yeah.
Yes, I think it's complete, yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Laure. Another message. Good evening, I'm Chloe from Intermedia KT, a non-profit based in Patra, Greece. Thank you for your presentation. My question would be for HIGGS representatives. So Sotiris, get ready. How long does the process usually take place?
Okay, so you mean the process of the whole transaction, or do you mean the process of being accepted within the platform and the system? So the first one is clearly, it relates to two things. The first one is how ready you have some specific documentation. So it can be very, very quick, but it can also take a few weeks maybe because you don't have ready all the documents. We do not ask very hard things. They're usually typical things that you have in order to support that you are of a non-profit status, that you are of, as Laure mentioned, of public benefit interest, etc. But we need to have this documentation so that you're approved through the system. Now, the second dimension is about from which countries you select to get donations, because you actually tick boxes where you select all the countries from which you want. So you don't go directly for 21 countries, you can just tick for 4 countries, for example, or something like that. So there we have a process that also the national partner of each country needs to approve your application. Usually it can go really quick, but for some reason it may be that a question may arise from some of the partners. So the more ticks you have, it may take a bit longer to get the approval of being in the network. Now, if you are in our system, in the TGE system, then from that point, and I'm also trying to answer Homestarter last question regarding on how you start. So you first register, but you are very close. You have some donors, potential donors in a TGE country, a country served by TGE, and then you contact them and tell them that you are part of the TGE, so you can now benefit from this process of keeping all the tax incentives like they were donating within their own country. So it is more of a process that you first register, but you are quite close into some donors so that you can immediately start getting some donations coming from these different countries. Now, regarding the whole procedure, it depends on when is the actual timing of the donation, because as you heard, for example, Swiss Philanthropy Foundation channels the money every 3 months, right, Aïssata? So this means that if it is in the start of the quarter, it may take a while, but if it is closer to the end of the quarter, then it will be quicker to come to you. And then again, it may be related to how quickly the donor will go through the process of donating the money through the network to come to you. So I would say just up to a month. I don't know, Laure, you can actually correct me on that, up to 1 month in order to get approved, especially if you don't have a lot of countries ticked there, and then up to 3 months tops if you are in a not very good timing regarding the donation itself. But in general, please note that at least here in Greece, we try to really support you during all this process so that it goes as fast as possible.
No, that sounds quite correct, Sotiris. It really depends on the amount of countries you are selecting as well. So this is something we emphasize, like start small. You know you have donors in France, in Switzerland, in Italy, select those countries. If a month later, 2 months later, 1 year later, you come to HIGGS and say, look, I have new donors in new countries because I've promoted my organization towards other European countries, and now I want to add Germany and I want to add Poland, no problem, we can add them. It's just, it facilitates things if you only select countries you know you have donors in, and it quickens the process. It's a win-win for everyone when you do that.
Yes, maybe I want to add, it is very tempting to select all the countries because it looks so simple. You just have a list of the country and you want to click everything like, oh yes, Romania, why not? And you get all excited. But this is not a sprint, but this is a marathon, and you want to save your effort and manage the expectation also. And of course, if you click the 10 countries, the process will take longer. So you will not be able to address the immediate need of your donors in France that are already ready to support you. So really start small.
Laure, thank you, Sotiris. Thank you, Marie. We have another question in the group chat. Does the company has to be an NGO, or is it possible to have a different structure?
Okay, so I want to answer this, and maybe somebody else can jump in, but I also want to go back a bit again to the home start question, just to finalize that, because now I So the question is, you find your donors first and then connect with the local TGE agent, or the actually reinforce or enhance the ability of these donors as well as others to support you. Okay, and regarding the second question of Ms. Chamada, you need to be a non-profit. It means that you cannot disperse profit, you cannot give it to people that have set up the organization. You have to be what Anne-Laure mentioned, a public benefit interest organization. So for us, it is Αστική Κερδοσκοπική και Σύλλογη Σωματεία. Sorry for the Greek, is the two main legal entities that are non-profit in Greece so far.
I think, Sotiris, you answered the next question from Artemisia, who asked if it is necessary to have specific profit in order to participate in the TGE. I think she meant that. She also asks, what is the tax rate for organizations that receive donorships?
I guess it is a Greek-based question, so sorry, I'm taking that again. My fellow presenters. So no, you don't need to have a specific profit. Actually, we do not expect a non-profit to have any profit, or it has some profit because the organization will use it in future activities. So we do not expect you to have any profit. On the other hand, regarding the tax rate for organizations, I guess you mean what will be taxed from the donation given to you. It is up to 0.5%, which is the usual donation tax that is actually applied to donations into Greek nonprofits. If I understood correctly the question.
We have another interesting question from Kinza Win from Gaia Meta Philanthropy Advisors in Switzerland. They ask, can you kindly detail what fees are to be paid to the supporting entities, TG and country representative, by the donor and or the non-profit in order to complete a donation transfer?
So I can answer if you want, but this answer will be the same for all the partners. So the fee, for the donors, it's 5%. So it's taken on the donation. So 5%, there are going to be 2 in the country where the donor is living. So 2% of this 5%. 2% will be for the country, the partner country, if you have where is the organization based. So in your case, Switzerland. So it will be Swiss Philanthropy Foundation, and maybe if your donor is living in Belgium, it will be the other 2% for Belgium, and 1 last % for the TGE network. So it will be 5% in total for the donation. And for the donor, it doesn't change because when he received the certificate, he maybe gave 100. The certificate will mention the 100 that he gave, not the 5% that we take off afterwards for the TGE network. So that's also something interesting for the donor. It is that the fee is not included in his fiscal receipt, but it will be 5% for all the TGE network in total.
We have question from Katerina Kuchuraki from Ione Samea. I suppose HIGGS helped the organizations for the process of the application. Yes, of course, we guide you through the whole process of submitting the right documents and filling in properly the application. So you contact us and learn more about it.
In addition to that, Katerina, I just want to stress that because it is an unfamiliar territory for Greek nonprofits, we usually do not focus so much on individual donations, especially, and more on donations that come from outside Greece. What we want to do actually is take all these NGOs that are going to be registered and further support them on how to expand, utilizing this tool, how to expand potential donors or pool of donors throughout specific TGE countries. So it's not just application process, because I truly believe that it is one of the funding channels that Greek nonprofits should build on. We will try to create best practices and tips and tricks in order to further utilize the opportunity created from TGE presence also in Greece.
Another question from Olympia from Crete for Life. This question is for Ludwig. She asks, I was interested to hear from Aphrodite about receiving donations from the USA. From the USA through the King Baudouin Foundation. How does it work? Because I don't see USA partners in the TGE. Can you also please tell us about the fees? Thank you.
So thank you, Olympia, for this question. Many of the Transnational Giving Europe partners do have also activities outside of Europe. Charities Aid Foundation, Fondation de France, King Baudouin Foundation. And so what we are doing for Transnational Giving Europe, and this, as Laure told you, this is really TGE, Transnational Giving Europe. Some of us are also doing this in other parts of the world. What Aphrodite showed you is indeed, she works with the King Baudouin Foundation United States, which is a sister organization of the King Baudouin Foundation. We have one in the US, we have one in Canada. And so there, this is another relationship for European beneficiaries. You have a relationship with Transnational Giving Europe, and then you have a specific relationship with partners that do have foundations in other countries, Fondation de France, Charities Aid Foundation, and Fondation Roi Baudouin, King Baudouin Foundation. So the best thing is to have a look on the websites and for King Baudouin Foundation United States in particular on kbfus.org, where you will find all the information on how to register if you have donors in the US, and if you feel the necessity to provide them with a solution. My colleagues at the King Baudouin Foundation United States will be very happy to help. On the fee structure, generally organizations like King Baudouin Foundation United States and so on are using more or less the same operational costs than Transnational Giving Europe. It may vary from 1%, but it's not that different. I see also that there is another question on fees. So yes, the operational cost of Transnational Giving Europe are the following ones. The network is taking, as Aïssata said, 5% on the donations up to 100,000 euro. If you have higher donations, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, then there is a digressive operational cost. And on top of the first 100, the network is taking 1% on top of the first 100,000. So one very concrete example, if you have a donation of 300,000 euro, the operational cost will be 5,000 on the first 100,000, and then 1,000 and 1,000 on the second and the third 100,000. So it will be 7,000 euro on the 300,000 euro that were given by the donor to your organizations. So and as you know, this is how do you say that? Yes, as you know, these operational costs are used for us to, one, cover cost, obviously, but two, to make some promotion of the network, to develop the online solutions that we are doing, and to do some advocacy to try to ameliorate the situation. And then I see that Katerina, I see that there is another question for me, so I will take that. I will take that as well. Yes, unfortunately, I would say for Canada it is another registration, because we are obliged to deal with the local rules, the local Canadian rules, the local US rules. And so this is just an example how easy transnational giving Europe is, because fortunately, thanks to the flexibility and to the entrepreneurial mindship of all the TGE partners, we were able to avoid different registrations in Europe. But in Canada, in the US, nothing else to do than to go through different registrations.
Thank you so much, Ludwig. Let me see, we have a question from Portugal. That's very interesting. I love the fact that we have participants from other countries different than Greece. So they ask, we lead the European Cultural Project. We work with emergent artists from several countries. We should always start the process from the Portuguese contact, or we can go directly to TGE. Who would like to answer that?
Okay, I think I'll give it a go. It all depends on where the leading organization in this project is based. So if you're based in Greece, then go to HIGGS. If the leading leader of the project is in Portugal, then go to the Portuguese TGE partner. But there is no issue with you being based in one country, working with artists in other European countries. It's actually something we are quite, that we did a lot with. So one of our main partners, Fedora, is based in France, and they support cultural organizations, opera, ballet in different European countries. So it's really not an issue, but just go where the leading organization is based in.
Another question from Edra, a Greek non-profit. Which is the best way for a non-profit to engage potential donors abroad? How can we spot them? Also, how can we organize an online event with a maximum impact? Which one of you would like to answer this question?
I think that, for example, was it Marie or was it Aïssata that mentioned in their presentations a few quick tips on how to approach the European donors and a European crowd? I think that it is not something that can really be answered in just a few minutes that we have available. But what I promise you that from the part of HIGGS is that we will organize a seminar on that, especially for those organizations that are either interested on the TGE or already have registered within the TGE. because it is multi-dimensional on how you can work on. Definitely search for expats, organizations. There are many of them. Search and try to contact the Greek embassy in specific countries. Also check other organizations that may have already succeeded in organizing some online events. Regarding online events per se, you really need to be able to attract the right people. So you need contact details, and this is the most difficult one. Usually you work like Aïssata mentioned, you have one, or Ludwig I think mentioned, you get 1-2 people that they act as ambassadors of you in their local environment. But I think more on that in more detail in our future to come seminar.
Yes, if I may add, Sotiris, I totally agree with what you just said, and I believe there's mainly 2 ways to build your prospective pool of donors. Is either you have a benefit committee helping you to raise awareness on your cause, or you organize event because you have a special relationship with a country, because you have alumni, or if you're a cultural institution, you're honoring a foreign artist, for instance. But event and benefit committee are very important tools to develop international strategy, I would say.
Yes, and something that you should definitely take advantage of is how active and proactive the Greek communities are in other European countries, because we were having a look at the kind of networks that existed in Brussels only of Greek diaspora or 2nd generation children, and we managed to find at least 5 Greek networks in Brussels only. So this is really something to tap into when looking at raising the number of donors from other European countries.
Thank you so much, Laure. Do you remember when I was talking about a big surprise that we had? Well, Marina Anselme from the MSc Foundation from Switzerland was finally able to connect with us. She overcame her technical issues. So Marina, would you like to talk about, to talk with us now, to present something? Marina, can you hear us?
Yes, let me put the camera if I can. Yes, I think so. Yes, sorry, it was a little bit, I have another appointment before. Thank you very much for the invitation. I just wanted to mention that I'm the Secretary General of the MSc Foundation. We are based in Geneva and a member of the Swiss Foundation since already 2 years, and also collaborating with the TGE network for the purposes that you all know, so I don't need to explain. We are focusing on restoring the critical balance between nature and its people, and with 4 focus areas. One is the environmental conservation area, the second is education, the third is community support, and the fourth is emergency relief. So I don't want to take more of your time, but I'm very pleased to say and explain in greater details what the foundation is doing and how do we relate to the TGE network as well. You're welcome.
Thank you, Marina, for the participation to this conference. And so, as you see, we have you're just jumping in the conference, so I just maybe sum up. But there is a lot of different organizations, and they want to know a little bit more about the TGE, how it's working, and what the TGE can do for them. So maybe if you have some 1 or 2 examples of how the TGE work with you, with your donors, and how it helps to get maybe some contact or more information that you were searching from one country to another.
Okay, so as a young organization, because MSC Foundation has been set up officially in June 2018, we don't have a long history of engagement with TGE, but it has been very instrumental for us to create this partnership, because the foundation it's set up in Switzerland, and it's a non-profit entity by the Swiss law. But we don't have a sort of offices around the world, although our scope of work is global. So TGE has been very instrumental into helping us to provide this tax exception certificate to donors that are outside Switzerland and that are very willing to support our programs, but are also expecting to benefit from such a type of tax exception within the framework of their countries. So when we knew about the TGE benefits and the service they provide for organizations such as our organization, we entered into that partnership, and particularly we could use a TGE network in Germany last year, when we put in place, where we organized a quite significant event, a gala to raise funds for a project to restore the ecosystem of the Elbe River. And because the gala was in Hamburg, and most of the donors were coming to Hamburg and were from Germany, the best way for us to make possible that tax exception was to partner with TGE. How do you call it? Your partner organization in Germany, who channeled the donation through us, and at the same time provide this tax exception for the German fiscal residents, while channeling the funding to MSC Foundation in Switzerland later on. So for us, it's a kind of a convenient solution when you have sporadic donations from residents from other countries where your organization is fiscally based, because it's allow you to provide this extra opportunity and benefit for the donors. At the same time, doesn't oblige you to be registered and going through a very also financially and administratively heavy process of to be registered in a particular country. So we really welcome the opportunity to be part of the TGE network, and we will continue, you know, being associated with you.
Thank you so much, Marina. So, is there anyone else who would like to ask something? Maybe Marina or the other speakers? Maybe to add something or comment on something?
I wonder if you have any plans to expand the network in Europe, because my understanding is you have 21 countries associated to TGE in Europe, but is there any chance that you add other countries, or you go a little bit beyond that scope of countries?
That's an excellent question. We actually just concluded our annual steering committee last week, I think, or the week before. And one of the priority goals set for this year is to further expand the network. Because as I said, we are present in 21 European countries, but there are a lot more countries that we could cover. So we are always on the lookout for partners in other countries. So in Crete, in Denmark, in Norway. Well, we're always looking for adding new countries to the network. So yes, we have this plan. Wait, you're on mute.
If I may add, the benefit of being part of the TGE network is that recently we finally get to be have our donation page connect to the TGE donation page, which is another benefit, because as you know, everything is happening digitally now, and more than ever with the COVID and pandemic. So to have to have this accessibility or provide this accessibility for an easy way of donating through the website and the pages that are interfacing with TGE, it's an advantage for us. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So if we have no other questions, that means that we came to the end of our event. We hope you learned a lot from our discussion today that would be useful and would help you activate your network of potential donors abroad. And of course, utilize all the possibilities that the Transnational Giving Europe network has to offer. Let me remind you once again that this event will be posted in the near future for free on our YouTube channel and of course our other social media. So if you are a potential donor and wish to contribute to charitable causes across Europe while claiming at the same time the tax deductibilities you are entitled to from your country. If you are a non-profit and want to attract donors from Europe, if you are a non-profit and want to facilitate your donations from abroad, don't forget to contact us at HIGGS and we will guide you through the whole process. Contact us either by phone at 211-411-6300 or by email at info@higgs3.org. Also, don't forget to stay tuned to your emails, to our social media, especially on Facebook, as many exciting HIGGS activities and events will be announced very soon. Stay tuned. Thank you so much for participating. A huge thank you to our speakers for our excellent collaboration. And of course, we look forward to seeing you at our upcoming endeavors. Stay safe and healthy. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, HIGGS.
Thank you for the organization. It was perfect.
Thank you.
Bye.